Jai Sudev, everyone. Jai Sudev, Shaji. Let's begin with the Swagat Gan.
Thank you, Vijay ji. Jai Sadgurudev to all of you. स्वागत गान। आज स्वागत नित्य गुरुवर संत शुभागम आइए, अध्यात्म विद्या दिव्य ज्योति सोमरस बरसाइए, दोष दुर्गुण दूर करके शुद्ध हंस बनाइए, भेद गम गति ज्ञान गर्जन शक्ति द्वार हटाइए, खुले द्वारा सप्त सागर भक्त जन अनवाइए, जन सदा फल विश्व शिक्षक शान आन बचाइए, आज स्वागत नित्य गुरुवर संत शुभागम आइए। बोले सद्गुरुदेव भगवान की जय। बैक टू विजय जी।
Jai Sudev. Yeah, so the intent of this session is to also give a platform for people to ask any difficulties they are facing while they read Surved. Since we have less time, so I would invite first any queries like Jyoti ji or anybody who is reading Surved, if she or anybody has anything to discuss here, anything to share.
विजय जी, जय सद्गुरुदेव।
जय सद्गुरुदेव जी। यस,
मुझे एक दो कुछ हैं पूछना चाहता हूँ आपसे
जी।
मेरा प्रथम ये है जो चतुर्थ मंडल दशम अध्याय।
अच्छा,
39। विजय जी और फिर 44 भी है।
Okay. 39. प्रथम देश संसार फिर अपने अपने ठाम, जिसको जो प्रभु ने दिया वह आपन सुख धाम। प्रथम अपना देश है, फिर संसार है, अपने अपने स्थान पर सभी है। जिस देश में जिसका जन्म हुआ है वहां की भोग संपत्ति उसी देश के निवासियों की है और वही उनका अपना सुखमय स्थान है।
हाँ,
Yes.
ये वजह इसका तो साधारण सा जो अपेरेंट मीनिंग है वो तो मुझे समझ आ गया, बट जो मैं
Right.
डॉट्स कनेक्ट नहीं कर पाया वो ये था कि अगेन स्पेसिफिकली इन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट कि हम लोग तो हैं नहीं अपने देश में, तो मतलब मुझे ये जो अपनी स्पिरिचुअल अंडरस्टैंडिंग के हिसाब से ये समझ नहीं आया कि जैसे हमने छोड़ कर यहाँ पर मूव किया, हमारी स्पिरिचुअल पर्सपेक्टिव के हिसाब से वो मूव जो है वो स्वामी जी क्या कहना चाह रहे हैं कि वो ठीक नहीं किया हमने।
See, this has been written in context of, if you look at other related dohas around it, then we will understand this is written in context of how to keep the peace in the world, how to keep the world in the harmony. And this is also maybe with respect to other countries encroaching onto another country, looting other countries, considering that if they are weak, then I can go and overrule them, rule over them. So keeping all those aspects in mind, and just think about it, this Swarved was written before India got independence. So when the Britishers were all around places, this is just the answer on that context, that everybody is born in certain place based on their karma, based on their bhoga, and they are entitled only for that aspect of it. If anybody encroaches onto other countries, then they are basically violating their whatever system of karma, and they are only doing sins, in the sense bad karma, if they go and loot other countries.
पर यहाँ तो विजय जी
on that aspect,
जो वहाँ तो जो चैप्टर का जो स्पेसिफिक रेफरेंस है, so the reason I'm going to be asking this question is that कि again my mind is attuned of reading such certain things in a certain way, कि जैसे कि क्या होता है कि हम I'll tell you little bit of background that will tell you the context why मुझे थोड़ी क्लैरिटी इसमें नहीं है, कि जैसे हम लोगों को मैं स्टूडेंट ऑफ लॉ, कि लॉ में बेसिकली क्या होता है कि स्पेसिफिक रेफरेंस होता है, एक तो होता है ओवरऑल कॉन्टेक्स्ट होता है कि डॉक्यूमेंट का, फिर होता है कि स्पेसिफिक रेफरेंस जिस चैप्टर के उसमें आप पढ़ रहे हैं कॉन्टेक्स्ट में। तो अब ये जो चैप्टर का जो कॉन्टेक्स्ट है वो समझाया स्वामी जी ने इसमें गृहस्थ संत के बारे में। तो मेरा जो दिमाग जो ट्यून्ड है पढ़ने के लिए वो ये है कि आई वांट टू इग्नोर द ओवरऑल कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ द टाइम दैट यू आर वांटिंग टू रेफर टू इन टर्म्स ऑफ प्री इंडिपेंडेंस, and my mind tells me to stay focused as to what this chapter is trying to convey in terms of the meaning. तो अगर मैं अपने आप को फोकस करता हूँ within the 4 parameters of this chapter itself, तो फिर मुझे उसमें जो है ना ओवरऑल पर्सपेक्टिव जो है वो मुझे नहीं आता है उसमें पिक्चर में। तो उसमें कुछ फंडामेंटल मतलब जो है इंटरप्रिटेशन में मेरी मिस्टेक है, जिसकी मुझे स्पेसिफिक चैप्टर का रेफरेंस छोड़ करके पूरी सर्वे का रेफरेंस एक साथ दिमाग में रखना चाहिए, or should I stay focused and concentrated when I'm reading a certain chapter that Swamiji is trying to bring my attention within the 4 corners? Again, I do not know whether I'm talking in literal sense of how the law gets interpreted, but मेरे को जो पढ़ने का जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है वो वैसा ही है, incidentally that's why I get inclined to think that way.
Yeah, so first of all, just to clarify that when you look at the, let's say, Grihastha Sant, you look this within bracket, it does not mean that the entire chapter is dedicated to Grihastha Sant only. It is just that Swamiji has begun here with the Grihastha Sant. You will find in several other chapters where then in between, if he could categorize certain set of doha into one heading, then he'll put that heading also, in between. But if whatever experiences he's getting, he just keeps documenting it. So that is why you will find concepts about mind around all chapters. You'll find concepts about, yoga, chetana, atma, they are scattered in Svarved. Because Swamiji, whatever experiences he was getting, he used to just document it. It was like that.
Okay.
So this whole chapter is not dedicated to Grihasthant.
Okay.
And if that was the case, then based on so we were in, let's say, you were saying 10th chapter only, right? This chapter only. Yeah. So this sukh shanti sabko mile, yah upadesh hamara, sara vishwa hamare, hum sab sansar. So all this concept, all these he has put here, not because he is writing everything about Grihasthant, but it is just that, that very thought which he got in his experience, he just documented it. So it is just a series of dohas, and they are not necessarily all put together into or categorized or grouped together into proper heading. That's why, when you have to search for certain aspects of spirituality, for example, when I search for Makartar, I won't find a single chapter to have all the concept about Makartar. It will be scattered here and there. So please just keep your mind open when you read Svarved. Don't enclose it, by the heading.
Okay, thank you. And then number 44.
Yeah. सदगुरु ब्रह्म स्वरूप है, कर सेवा मन लाए, जीव भाव आवे नहीं, सब विधि ब्रह्म नशाए.
हाँ, इसमें जो भाष्य लिखा है जो स्वामी जी ने, मुझे वो समझ नहीं आया कि जो प्रथम लाइन है कि सदगुरु ब्रह्म स्वरूप है, इसलिए जीव का भाव छोड़कर शुद्ध मन से उनकी सेवा करनी चाहिए. और यहाँ जीव का भाव छोड़कर का क्या मतलब है जी, कि हम सदगुरु को जीव समझ रहे हैं, अपने आप को जीव समझ रहे हैं?
हाँ, नहीं, सदगुरु we should not consider Sadguru as a living human being. I mean, just another human being.
पर जीव तो जो सर्वेद में समझाया, जीव तो आत्मा के लिए कहा गया है शब्द.
Yes. So that is what is being discussed here, that Sadguru is not like any other living soul. We should not consider him or look at him as any other living soul. Sadguru, the process by which Sadguru power is endowed into that human being, by that process the flow of Brahm energy is obtained in that soul, and so that soul represents the Brahm himself, because the flow of Brahm happens through that. And that's why it is transformed and it becomes the physical embodiment. That's why it is said here that Sadguru before becoming Sadguru and Sadguru after becoming Sadguru are two different things. In the Doha where Swamiji has mentioned how the Sadguru is made, in that he has very clearly mentioned that the moment Sadguru Swati, or the flow of Brahm energy, is passed on to a chosen one, then whatever is the Purva Swabhav, meaning whatever is your earlier characteristics, all that just vanishes, because all you remain with is the Sadguru behavior, the Sadguru power, the Sadguru wisdom. You become Sadguru from that day onwards. So, for example, if later in future, when we, of course, in our life, we will see that Sadguru energy passing from present master, Sadguru Sutan Devji Maharaj, to Sadguru Uttaradhikari Sant Prabhu Shri Vigyan Devji Maharaj. We are very fortunate that we will see that transition happening. So whatever you know about Sant Percy Vigyandev Maharaj today, and whatever he will become after the Sadguru power is transferred to him, you will find that suddenly his behavior, his powers, his feel will just change after the Sadguru is transferred, Sadguru power is transferred into him. So by that we understand that the one who becomes Sadguru is no more a human soul. It becomes something else. So that's why we should not even consider the human form of Sadguru as a living human soul. Rather, he becomes Sadguru. He becomes Sadguru means the one who physically represents the Almighty. So that's why it is said Sadguru Brahma Swarupa hai. इसलिए जीव का भाव छोड़कर, meaning we should not consider him like any other saint or any other human being. We should not consider that, but we should consider that that he is the representative of the Almighty himself.
Soul basically, right? Human being तो बात नहीं ना, वैसे soul की बात ही कर रहे हैं ना, क्योंकि जीव का purpose तो soul ही कहा है उन्होंने सर्ववेद में. So it's not a matter of we recognizing him as a human being or a saint. उनको तो ये कहा गया कि उनको soul भी आप मान के मत चलें आप, right?
Right. So, but then when the jeev is spoken, jeev is spoken in terms of a soul in the body.
Oh, okay.
When we say any jeev, meaning somebody who feels live. Jeev comes from jeevit. Okay. Something that is jeevit. Jeevit means why the word jeevit means living, right? Jeeving means the live, the one who is alive. So soul is always alive, but the body feels like alive, right? So body containing the soul within it together is jeev. That's why we say jiva atma, meaning whatever you see as a live entity, within that is a soul, and so we call jiva atma.
I'm slightly confused. जीव को तो नित्य कहा गया है. जीव is नित्य.
Yeah, because anything that is alive, body is never alive. Alive is only the soul. Soul is only alive. But instead of saying just Atma, how will you differentiate when the soul is in the body and the soul is without the body? So you can differentiate by this that, Atma is not of different types. I mean, Atma has no category, but Jeev has categories. There are 84 lakhs of Jiva, right? 84 lakhs categories of Jiva. So Jeev is like when soul, acquires the physical body, then that soul in the body is called Jeev. Though when we say Jeev, we are saying Jeev to the soul only. But when the soul is in the body, we are saying Jeev to that physical representation of the soul.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. For example, insect is also Jeev. Animals are also Jeev. Human beings are Jeev. When it is pure soul, then Swamiji will say Atma. And when he has to generically represent, he can say Jeev also for Atma as well, because Atma is also Jeev. But
मैं उसी कॉन्टेक्स्ट में कह रहा था विजय जी कि जैसे उन्होंने जो जहाँ बताया सौरभ ने कि जैसे नित्य अनादि षट वस्तु हैं जिनका सकल प्रसार, तो वहां पर जीव का जो रेफरेंस, वहां जीव का स्पेसिफिक रेफरेंस मुझे समझ में आया था पहले कि शायद आत्मा से रिलेटेड है. But
yes, of course, yeah. So Jeev, for example, the Sadguru entity is also alive, but the Paramatma is also alive. Akshar Brahm is also alive. They are all conscious entities. But Jeev specifically is used for the soul, not for any other conscious entity. So your understanding with that reference is absolutely correct. So here when Sadguru is in front of us in the human form, then we confuse, because we then consider, oh, so Sadguru is just like any other human being. And so with that reference, it is written here that we should not consider Sadguru as the body of any other soul, but Sadguru now is representing the Brahma energy, because not only the soul energy is in the body, but the Brahma energy is also in the body now. So he cannot be now termed as Jeev, because Jeev is those bodies where the soul energy is flowing. But Brahm Swarup Sadguru means the Sadguru body is no more just the soul body, but Sadguru body now is the body of the Brahm energy. The Brahm Vidya and the Brahm energy is flowing through him.
Thank you, Vijay. I understand.
Okay, so that also reminds me, last week we had started discussing about Shunya, and I wasn't very clear on all that aspect. So a little bit on that also. Sadgurudev has mentioned, as Srirangji had also brought last time, that Mahashunya represent the zone of Akshar Brahm. So to just conclude on that, what is Shunya? The word Shunya itself says that Shunya means something which is just empty. It has nothing. Shunya means nothingness. So when the creation wasn't there, what was prior to the creation? Just think about it. What was prior to the creation? Prior to the creation, the Akshar Brahm energy was also not there in this zone of creation. What was there? It was only the Parmanu Mandal at their own zone, not in this entire gamut of creation. The creation wasn't there. Only the Parmanu Mandal was there. So that Parmanu Mandal, which is the ingredient for the creation, was not in every coordinate. So when the Parmanu Mandal is not in every coordinate of this creation, then what was in that creation, in the zone of creation? It was no inertness. But of course, Almighty is and was and will be always there in every coordinates. But we are not counting Almighty's energy here. We are talking about Shunya with the reference of inertness. Okay, so when there is no inertness, there is no sky, there is no Akash, then whatever is there, that is what is called Shunya. So the zone of creation where the Akshar Brahm appears for the first time, where does he appear? He will appear in the zone of nothingness. So that zone of nothingness is Mahashunya. In the zone of nothingness where there is no inertness, when the Akshar Brahm appears in that zone, that is where the Parmanu starts reacting, and then first the Akash Mandal is formed. So when we say Akash, Akash is not only the sky that we see up, when you look up, you see blue sky. But when you go up, you'll find that actually there is no boundary. Whatever you see blue, it doesn't mean that there is an umbrella above us. It's not like that. It's just that the sky actually is everywhere. This is what all the empty spaces that you see, there is a layer of creation in this, which is the Akash, in the dimension of Akash. This Akash is the reason why the sound travels from one place to another place. Even though you see that it's an open space, there is no wire or anything between you and us. When you are, let's say, in front of me, you're sitting on the couch, I'm sitting in front of you in the chair. When I speak, my sound reaches to your ear. So the space through which the sound travels, that space is called sky. So sky is not only up in the above your head, but sky is this open space. So instead of shunya, the sky actually spreads all over. So Mahashunya was the entire empty space, and then the sky is created in the Mahashunya. And when the sky is created in Mahashunya, within the human body, there are still the places which have not got any of these 5 elements. None of these 5 elements. Those places are still empty, vacuum. And that's how this body has got 68 shunyas. So Mahashunya is the ultimate shunya, and then the sky started filling those spaces. From the sky, the air is born. From the air, the fire is born. From the fire, the water is born. From the water, the earth is born. This is how these 5 elements are born. They are made, they are created, and they start occupying the space of the shunya. But when the human body is formed, within this body still there are 68 places which are left as shunya. And what is the basis of that shunya? The basis is the Mahashunya itself. Because Mahashunya was the entire empty space, and then whatever could not get occupied within the body, they remained as shunya. And that's how the Mahashunya is in the base of all shunya. But what empty spaces, single points that you have within the body, they are termed as Ardha Shunya, Madhya Shunya, Urdhva Shunya, and in total we have 68 shunyas within the body. So I hope that clarifies a little bit, and that's why it is said that at the zone where the Akshar Brahma appears, that is called Mahashunya, because even beyond this creation, there is still the space where only the Akshar Brahma energy is there. There is no creation. Creation has not expanded to that level yet. That is the pure zone of Akshar Brahma. And that zone of Akshar Brahma purely represents the Mahashunya. Though Mahashunya was all around, but that is the space where the Mahashunya is still in the purest state. There is no creation which has reached to that level. That's why, though Mahashunya is the foundation, the base of all Shunya, the Mahashunya in the purest state is in the zone of Akshar Brahma. And from there, as we understand, the Mahashunya is the space of the Parmanu Mandal, where the Parmanu is there, but they have not formed any creation in that zone yet. Rather, everything below that is the creation. But that zone where still the Parmanu is intact as they are, scattered and in equilibrium. The rest part of the creation, the Parmanu have combined together and they have formed Akash, the Vayu, the Agni, the Jal, the Prithvi, and all that. Those creations have come into inception. But the Parmanu Mandal, there are still infinite Parmanus in the Parmanu Mandal. They are still intact as they are in the Mahashunya. When we say Ardha Shunya, Urdhva Shunya, this is as simple as this, that when you speak any word, whatever words we are pronouncing, we are saying ka, kha, ga, all these are being produced from the point of those shunya only. Because we have shunya in the body. So in this ardh pravaha of our consciousness, whatever things that you encounter, for example, when you speak those words, these are all ardh shunyas. Similarly, when you meditate, then your consciousness goes in the inward direction. and so you happen to also get the experience of the other shunyas. In fact, all these point of concentration in meditation are also the point of shunya. So when we concentrate on the Pratham Bhumi is also one point of shunya, where all these anhads, the universal sounds, the Brahmandi sound, Brahmandi Shabd, all these are being produced. They are also the point of shunya. So all these shunyas are where the Akshar Brahm energy is producing some sound. And that's how you are able to speak, and that's how you are able to hear something when you go inside in the meditation, because those shunyas are the point at which these sounds are created. So these are a little bit more about shunya. Okay. So Naminji, you had 44 and anything else after this?
No, I'm good, Vijay. Thank you. Thank you for explaining the concept of Mahashunya also.
Yeah.
Vijayji, Anand here. I have one question.
Yeah.
So we talked about Akshar Brahma, and I also heard there's a there's a saying which is called Pragyanam Brahma. So when they talk about Pragyanam Brahma, are they talking about Akshar Brahma, or is that something different?
No, that is different. Okay. There the Brahm is used for Parabrahm. Okay, the Pragyanam Brahma, I don't know which reference you're taking, but Brahm word is used for representing the quality of one who creates, who sustains, and who dissolve. And that is why the Akshar Brahm, for Akshar Brahm also the Brahm word is being used, and for Parabrahm also the Brahm word is used. Because though the Akshar Brahm is the mediator for this creation, but the ultimate creator is the Parabrahm, the Almighty only. So that's why somewhere you will also see only Brahm word being used interchangeably, sometimes used for Almighty, sometimes used for Akshar Brahm. It depends on the context, and from there we understand that, okay, at this point Brahm is being used for the Almighty and not for the Akshar Brahm. So in majority places in the ancient scriptures, the Brahm that you hear is used for the Almighty only.
Okay. And also when some places they say pragya means we also have that pragya or bodh, right? So is pragya also being used in terms of consciousness or being chetna, or
no? Pragya, see, there's one, for example, there's a word isthit pragya, right? So in the isthit pragya, the pragya is used for the buddhi. Isthit pragya, when we say there, it means that the stillness of our intellect, when the intellect has no impact of anything from outside, it remains at just one perfect level all the time, then this is the state of the sthit pragya. So pragya is used basically for the vivek. Even if we go specific, instead of saying buddhi, we can say vivek. Vivek means you can say a dimension of awareness. Vivek is a dimension of awareness. So when you say pragya, when you said pragya Brahma, when you said that means you are a Brahma Jnani. You're in a state of being aware of the Brahm himself. It is, so you and the Brahm become one, meaning whatever is in the knowledge of Almighty, that knowledge is also being shared with you. You become one with Almighty. So you also become omniscient. And that's why you attain that state of Pragya Brahma. And when we say consciousness, the reason consciousness is also used and you will feel that this also fits into the context is because knowledge is not separate from the consciousness. When we talk about awareness, when we talk about knowledge, basically, it is representing just one aspect of consciousness only. Because where there is consciousness, there only you have the awareness. There only you have the wisdom and the knowledge. Ichha, Gyan, Prayatna. These are the three symptoms of the existence of the consciousness. So when we talk about awareness, when we talk about wisdom, basically we are talking about the existence of a consciousness only over there. So that's why you can sometimes feel that, yeah, I think they are talking about consciousness, and which may also fit into it. But if we go just more very specific into it, then yes, we can segregate it and say that, okay, so they're specifically talking about awareness, not the consciousness as a whole.
Ji Vijay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. The reason the Akshar, why the word Akshar in the Akshar Brahm, the Akshar Brahm is also called as just Brahm in Swarved itself. And so Swamiji will say for Paramatma, he will say Parabrahm, and for Akshar Brahm, he will say Brahm. But where the Akshar word has come into picture? It came into picture because when you talk about entities which are in the zone of creation, when we talk about entities which are in the zone of creation, then in that context, he said there are three entities in this zone of creation. One is Kshar entity, means something which is perishable, which is going to change, which is going to be non-existing in future time, which will cease to exist. So those are Kshar. And then there is Akshar. Kshar and Akshar. So Akshar is something which is non-destructible. So what is Akshar in this whole creation? So the ultimate Akshar in this whole creation is the Akshar Brahm. And then Sadhguru will say, and there is Ni Akshar also in this zone of creation. Ni Akshar means it is the entity which is neither the Akshar Brahm nor the Kshar, but somebody beyond the Kshar and Akshar. So that is Ni Akshar. So what is that Ni Akshar? Ni Akshar is the Almighty. The Almighty who is not the Akshar Brahm but beyond him. That's why the Ni Akshar is Ni Akshar. And Akshar means somebody who is not Kshar. So there are three entities here. The Kshar entities, the Akshar and Ni Akshar. These are being used in the context of the zone of creation. Okay. Jyotiji, anything from you? Did you read any Doha?
Can you hear me, Vijayji?
Yes, I do know. Yes.
Actually, so, I wanted to ask you in the beginning, when we started, it is that Adhyay 9 jo hai, 9th 9th chapter.
Okay.
और उसमें
Sure.
there is like a, and it's not a question, but I just wanted to share my understanding with you. That was the
Sure.
Chautha, Panchwa, and Chatwa. I think it is mentioning about Shunya Sikhar. I don't have that with me right now, so I'm just off my head. I'm saying I think it is 4th, 5th, and 6th where he is mentioning about Shunya Shikhar, Kandara,
Okay.
Shunya
Okay.
Shikhar Kandara. So, like, you know, the way it is explained, it looks so beautiful. ऐसा लगता है कि we should also go there and have that experience. But I don't think it will be
Yes. Yes.
possible
You're
for
right.
everyone. So I just wanted to, you know, ask you kind of, but it is more like sharing because it is such a beautiful experience that, you know, everything that he has written, when I visualize it, and especially meditation jab karte hai na, and when I'm thinking, like, I really get goosebumps, like I really get carried away, you know. So
Right.
आप
No,
कुछ
you
कह
can go
सकते हैं कि
there.
how can we get that experience
Yes.
here while we are here, you know?
Not here. You have to go to Shunya Shikhar. Shunya Shikhar is Shunya Shikhar. So let me tell you, there are two places which Swamiji has reserved for initiating the 5th stage of Vihangam Yoga. If anybody who is initiated into 5th stage, they have to either go to Shunya Shikhar Ashram in Himalaya, or they have to go to Vrittikuta Ashram. These are the two places where the adhyatmic, the spiritual energy are preserved, under the influence of which you become ready for getting initiated into 5th stage. So when you go there, only when you are under the influence of that energy there, you are ready for 5th stage of Vihangam Yoga. So not any other places Swamiji can initiate or will initiate anybody into 5th stage. It has to be at these two places only.
But Vijay ji, वो तो हम कैसे कर सकते? Like, does he tell us like that?
But then,
or...
but I'm saying every year Shunya Shikhar is having annual events in October, every year around October, and there people book the Swamiji also for all the aged people who cannot ride on the mountain, they cannot trek on the mountain. So with the help of government, they also arrange helicopter service. So through helicopter, people go to Shunya Shikhar Ashram, and otherwise you have to basically trek for about 2.5 hours to reach there. The last place where the jeep can take you to, from there you have to walk for about 2.5 hours. That information I'm giving when I went there in 2007, around 2007, around that time. That is the last time I visited there. After that, recently our Niranjan ji visited. He is the last person from US who has visited Shunya Shikhar Ashram.
Wow, you are blessed. You guys are really, really blessed, because, you know, when I was reading it, इतना अच्छा लग रहा था कि...
So I must tell you a story on that. This is very good point you raised. There were two people with me who were brother and sister, and all the way they were just not believing in the energy of Shunya Shikhar Ashram. We were saying that, you know, when you go to Shunya Shikhar Ashram, the moment you sit for meditation, you will feel the difference. And they were just not believing, because they were new. They never felt anything like this in all these few months of their Vihangam Yoga. But they were definitely special soul. That's why they also agreed to visit all the ashram with us. So all the way they were just laughing and this and that. When we reached Shunya Shikhar Ashram, there was another amazing thing. It was getting dark down below from where we had started. And as we started reaching to Shunya Shikhar Ashram, it was still the day over there. Just because the sun had not set for that location. It is at so high altitude, you know, it is very high. So you have to wear sweaters, maybe even in September or August in Shunya Shikhar Ashram. It's little cold also over there. So when you reach over there, the first thing we did was we washed our hands and feet and went to the gufa, the Kandra that Swamiji has mentioned in this doha, Shunya Shikhar ki Kandra Yogin Karyah Dham, Sarva Siddha Pradayini Hove Purna Kam. So we went to that gufa, which is where Sadguru Sudakal Devji Maharaj had meditated. So we went there. The moment we entered in the gufa, you will feel something. And so everybody sat in meditation. And after maybe half an hour or so, we all broke out of meditation and came out. And then we started looking for brothers and sisters. Where are they? Deepak and Preeti. Deepak and Preeti. That's what their name. So where is Deepak ji? Where is Preeti ji? They're missing. They're not here. Then we thought, oh, we all had sat for meditation there. Are they still over there? When we went, we saw both of them in Urdhva Prava, meaning they were just drawn inside and the Kriya was happening in their body. Both of them, both brother and sisters. And they probably broke out of meditation maybe after 1 hour or so. And when they came out, they were all full of tears. And from then on, they understood what Sadguru energy is, because they literally experienced it there in Shunya Shikhar Ashram.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. हम नेक्स्ट ये साल तो अभी खत्म ही है, अक्टूबर में तो जाने का, but next year or the year after, whenever Guruji will call. We should plan.
In fact, from US, we will, one of the years we'll definitely plan to go in group to Shunya Shikhar Ashram. So
yeah, we should do that.
Yeah, once definitely. All these things settle down, we will definitely make a plan. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Please, I request all of you to keep reading Swarved, and we will discuss here. We'll try to understand Swarved a little better. And we have to speak in English because we have some English joinees who will then otherwise feel left out. So request Naveen-ji, let us try to stick to English. Yeah.
Vijay-ji, if you are referring to me, I can understand a little bit of Hindi, but...
oh yeah, so we have Narayana-ji.
40 to 50% of Hindi, right. But we don't have to restrict to Hindi.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Vijay-ji is only talking about me. I know that, Vijay-ji. I'm Chitralekha.
Okay, you're also here.
See, you're so dear to all of us. We always remember you, Chitralekha-ji.
I'm also trying hard to learn Hindi, but it's not happening to me, So we are putting our efforts from our side, and I'm really feeling bad to remind you, hey, please speak in English, it's really hard for me to say, but I still say it because we are leaving everything, and this is the only thing that we can hear something. You all have different modes of receiving knowledge, because so many Hindi satsangs and so many things are in YouTube. For people like us, it's really very limited. That's why we want, and people who are talking to you, they all know English, but I know Hindi comes naturally to them, and don't think that we are pushing you, but please respect our inquisitiveness and our time and our liking to hear the Swarved.
That's true. Absolutely. 100% correct, Chitralekha-ji. We all have to do that. Yes. Okay. Thank you all. Anybody else wants to volunteer to conclude with Shanti part?
Vijay-ji, this is Neetu. If there is someone he can do, otherwise I am ready.
Please. Yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
Shanti part. हे प्रभु शांति स्वरूप हो, शांति शांति में शांति, शांति शांति जन शांति हो, सर्व शांति हो शांति। हे प्रभु शांति प्रदान कर, दूर हो सर्व अशांति। देव सदा फल शांतिमय, शांति शांति सुख शांति। बोलिए सद्गुरुदेव भगवान की जय। Over to you, Vijay ji.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you all for joining. We will meet again next week. Thank you all. Jai Sukhdev.